4 frames of eggs in various stages and a frame of food with a queen that's laying in the box. And it's all one connected group. And the reason I say it works well is because that queen is laying in that frame, and those are her bees, and when you plug it up and bring it to your place, that's her box with her bees, and everything is working as a unit. A package of bees is a dried out package with no comb, and you have to dump it into a box and put the queen in there in a little cage, and then put syrup in there and hope she stays and doesn't fly away when she gets out. And it could be, because she didn't have any brood or any food or any storage or any place to lay eggs or anything to start with. You're really on the new edge. So it's way easier to move a nook in and transfer it into your box than it is a package instead of bees. Package bees can be done. Going from there, you need to decide. As a group, we run queen excluders. The reason we run queen excluders for the club is I like keeping my queen down in the brood chamber, and I like keeping my honey up in the honey chamber. And I don't like crossing them. I don't like when I go to extract honey, having a bunch of brood in there that I have to sift through and separate out to extract and not extract. It makes for a lot cleaner and nicer honey. The lids, the screen bottom boards, all that stuff is you. You're going to be the one hung up on that. The bees, I've seen bees make beehives in old truck tires, an old rusted out 55-gallon drum, an old gas tank off a semi-truck, under sheds, in walls, in attics, water meters. They're not real particular where they'll make their comb and start their hive out. They're really, really not as particular as you are. So most of the stuff you get hung up on is going to be you, not the bees. But I was talking like Saturday, we have a bee day in the bee yard here at the college. Jim, are you in here? So 8:30?
Yes, sir.
8:30 Saturday morning?
Yes.
On the backside of Ridge Road here. Jim Lane, 10 o'clock, Monday? Tuesday. So Tuesday at 10 o'clock out at Great Bay, out by the landfill.
I don't know where it is. Is it on the website?
So it'll be on the website, yes.
Right, the website.
So 28th Street, out by the landfill. And he does that on Tuesday because we do ours on Saturday, so it's kind of works hand in hand. And he'll do the same thing as us. Now he has, and we have veils and gloves. Come dressed for success. So closed-toed shoes, because bees can be bees, and we have hands. So that's 2 reasons. Long sleeve shirts are preferable, not mandatory, but you might want to think about it. Long pants, if you're not a certain person in here. You don't see him here. He's not here. Oh. All right, so we have one guy that always comes in shorts. But he's from Africa, and he worked with Africanized bees, so what we have is wimpy compared to everything he's worked with. So come ready to get your hands dirty and sweaty, because we'll probably hand you a frame of something. It's a class participation, not a stand in the back and hide. If I'm doing it and I catch you standing in the back hiding, I will hand you something. I will walk through the people to get to whoever's in the back hiding and hand you something. You learn by hands-on, not hands away. So, yes?
Yoga pants, we'll get a betting pool started. So don't wear yoga pants.
So bees, I mean, they've evolved for years and years, even from the Egyptians, because they had honey in the tombs. So they've been around for a really long time. I don't know how long yoga pants have been around, obviously not that long. But bees have an ability, and I haven't figured it out yet, but they have ability to when you're working on a hive, been overworking, they can find the tight spots of material like jeans. And they go, hey, this would be a good place. And they'll sting it there. And it's not really a good place, but they think it is. Try and stay away from your darker colors. Bees have been fighting with bears for years and years and years, and most of them are black. And they just have a real problem with the color black. So wear lighter colored clothes. You don't have to go buy fancy bee suits. Go buy a secondhand thrift store and buy like a big cottony shirt. Something like you could paint in if you weren't wanting to use it for bees. And some baggy cottony pants, a lighter color. Doesn't matter if you want to get them soiled up or stained, just wear them for your bee stuff. That's all you have to do. So you don't have to have an expensive bee suit. You don't have to have a lot of expensive stuff. A decent hive tool. A bee brush can be handy when you're newer. I got some frames I'll get into you later. I got a smoker here. Now, I always tell people get a 10-inch smoker. They make a 10 and a 7-inch smoker. The 7-inch smoker is just harder to keep lit. And if you can't keep your bee smoker lit, you can't keep your bees happy. There's a smoker in there. And so the 7-inch one, for whatever reason, is just harder to keep lit. You can use multiple different fuels. Pine needles work good. Hay works good. They make some sale stuff that you can buy from the bee places that all work good. But there's something about this extra, like 3 inches. So the difference between the 7 and the 10 inches is just the height of it. It's just taller. And I don't know if it just holds more fuel or what, but this thing will stay lit a lot longer. And that's not a big deal when you're doing 1 or 2 hives, because you don't need your smoker to stay lit for hours on end, except for your first few times in the bees, because you're going to be so amazed at your bees. You're going to be out there, and you'll need your smoker to last for an hour or so, because you're going to be spending so much time looking through them, you're going to lose track of time. You're really going to be amazed. I guarantee you that will happen, because it happened to me. But if your smoker goes out on you early and you don't have smoke when you need it, that's when it really is bad, and you're gonna have a problem. So, yes.
The brush and spray board stuff, we wouldn't have to bring that this weekend, right?
No. So you don't have to bring that. We have the tools. You don't even have to bring a suit. We have suits and everything for you to do. You just need to come wearing some decent clothes, and you have to sign a permission slip for the college and one for the association. And so
if they do have their equipment, they should wear it and bring it with them.
yes, so if you do have a bee suit or whatever, bring it. You don't have to. Jim, yes.
Don't try to save money on this one. That's when they get.
So I would tell you, you can save money on clothes. You can go to Walmart or Home Depot and get just a little pry bar and save money here and save money there. And Jim said, do not try and save money on your smoker. The smoker can kind of save your life. I wasn't into my bees probably the 2nd time, or maybe the 3rd time I was in them. And, just exciting, got out there and got it lit and got my suit on and got out there and it wasn't smoking real well, but we'll get through this. And I smoked them a little, and these things are built. There's a lot of engineering goes into this. This isn't just cool looking for a reason. And I smoked them a little and got to open the hive up, and I'm working on my bees, and I'm going, is someone cooking bacon? And then it hit me. No, that was my legs burning. So all the little engineering that goes into this thing is this little cage. You can buy these things real cheap on Amazon. This little cage that goes around it keeps flesh and other things from burning up from the hot temperature that this thing turns into. This little sheet metal thing here is just a stupid little piece of sheet metal that holds the heat off your fingers when you're pumping it. The leather bellows does a really nice job in pumping air and a lot of air when you need it. So there's a lot of engineering goes into this that you don't know when you first get into it, and it's real handy. It also has the little stand on the bottom so you don't set it down on things and burn it a hole in your tailgate or other things.
How do you put it out?
So if you're around your house or around a water source, you can dump it out on the ground and put water on it or stamp it out. Do not, when you're out in a bee yard away from a water source, dump this thing out. It will turn into a raging inferno once you leave. It's just embers. But the embers will smolder and smolder and smolder until they turn into a fire when you're not looking. Many of beekeepers have burnt honey houses, apiaries, equipment, and all down because of that little piece. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, if you get one of your friends to give you a cork off last night's wine bottle and shave it down a little, you can just plug it in the hole and it will go out itself.
See right in here. The other thing that works real good is go around and find where a squirrel has been eating pine cones and break the very tip off. It's kind of cone shaped and you can stuff it right in here. Just be careful. Don't like put it in the back of your truck next to some cardboard or some boxes or anything. You can burn things up. So Jim will be out there Saturday morning. He'll be opening up hives, going through them, looking to see if they need honey or boxes put on them for honey. Looking to see how the queen's doing, what the queen's doing, and all in our boxes. So, it's when you go through a dozen boxes, you usually see about a dozen different things because they're all up to something a little different. We requeened in March. April, and so we have some newer queens. They're all still doing good, aren't they? Over the years, we've had some that we get a little cantankerous, but yes, sir.
Don't forget to mention you can get sweet queen. You can get a queen with good attitude, and she will develop the attitude of the whole hive.
So he's right. The queen sets the tempo for the whole hive. And if you learn nothing else from me or this association, if you're going to keep bees in Pinellas County, and you're going to have them in your yard, which is pretty close proximity to neighbors, in most cases, there's a few of you that might have large spaces, but most of us just have lot sizes, and it's legal for us to keep them here, and the state's done a lot to help us with that. And it's a really cool thing. And so like most normal lots, we can have like 3 hives. And that's not overdoing it. But if you have hives that are a little angry or whatever, and you're out working your hives and your neighbors are trying to have the grandkids swim in the pool, you can have issues if you have ornery hives. You need to make sure, as a dedicated beekeeper, that you have some of the best stock in bees you can have, and that means a really gentle stock of bees. You're not on some 40-acre farm somewhere where it doesn't matter. You're in a subdivision with neighbors all the way around you, and you need to be top-notch and make sure you have good, gentle bees. And that should be your priority when you're picking out bees, because they're going to make honey. They may make a little more propolis, they may make more comb, they may make a little more whatever. But in the midst of all that, they're going to make honey. When they're making honey, they're making bees. So it all goes hand in hand. But you do need gentle. You do not want that news truck out in front of your house live at 5. The story will go something like killer bees at so-and-so's house. And you don't want your name, so-and-so, on that report. So be very careful of that. Any other questions? Yes?
Shortly after we moved into where we are, one of our hives decided to
So you can become a really bad friend to your neighbors if your bees are all over the front door. They may not be as excited about your new hobby as you are, no matter how cool it is, no matter how many bottles of honey you give them at Christmas time. Share the wealth, always give your neighbors around you a little honey. A little sweetness goes a long ways. And that's a metaphor for life. You can do that with a lot of things. Yes, ma'am.
You said sweet queen. Is that a real thing?
So what he's talking about is gentleness,
How do you find
behavior.
that? Is it just a roll of the dice?
So it's actually really not that roll of dice. There's different breeds and all that are a more gentle
Okay.
bee. And so they're further removed out than Africanized bees. We do have Africanized bees in Pinellas County and Tampa. They are in this part of the state. And they're not, I don't think there is many of them as they project there is, but it still happens. And when you find one that's grumpy, it's really noticeable. But you can make a normal hive grumpy just by aggravating it without smoking and doing other things to it. So once you learn how to work with bees and what to do, you can set yourself up for success. Yes?
In my humble opinion, make sure that when you buy queens, that you buy them from a Florida state license, is that the right word?
Or a registered license.
Registered queen breeder, because they have come out and made sure that they have enough drones that are not Africanized, tested them. And there's a few, even, I think, in the area, right, guys?
Yeah, we have several people in the association here.
Because there's a lot of people who sell queens all over the U.S. And coming from Arizona, I bought a lot that were still not that nice. But now that Florida has a program, that's a great way to go.
Yes.
What's the deal with Africanized bees? There's a lot of the enemy.
Why are they the enemy? So they are not the enemy, but they are, I would say on the minimum, they are 10 times to more aggressive than European honeybees, which isn't a big problem. So if this is a hive and it's in the backyard and it's doing its thing, and it has ever how many bees going and coming at a time, and it's a European honeybee hive, and I walk out there with a little flag or a little stick and I bump in front of the hive, there's going to be probably about 10 guard bees that are going to come out and try and attack my attacker that's trying to aggravate them. If it's more of an Africanized hive, there's probably going to be 150 to 200 bees that will come out and attack that. So the European hive, if I upset them when I'm working on them, I can close them back up and I can walk out there about 3 tables distance. And at 3 tables distance, they'll settle down and go, okay, the threat has left. We're fine here. If it's a European hive, I have to go to the parking lot. I mean, an Africanized hive. If it's an Africanized hive, I would have to go all the way out into the parking lot to get away from them. They would follow me that far.
I've had them follow me half a mile.
So they do everything. So they make bees better. They probably make honey better, or more of it because they make more bees. But the problem is they're more aggressive and more ornery and a lot more things. They're protecting their food. Now, you take any creature on earth, from fish to whatever, and they will all protect their children and their food sources. Everything does, all the way through humans. So they're not doing anything wrong. They just do it a little better than most. They're a little more on the aggressive side doing it. So, yes, ma'am.
Just don't forget to tell them about aftershave lotion, women wearing hairspray, and especially lavender deodorant the day they come to the bee yard, because the bees will think you're a flower. And
So bees communicate with pheromones, which are nothing but scents. And so if you're putting on a really strong scent, whether it's a lotion, a deodorant, a cologne, you may want to back down a notch or two. I'm not saying go all natural, so you're all sweaty and stinky. But find some happy medium And or if you find yourself going to the bee yard and finding these bees keep getting up in my face, or they keep getting up around me more than other people around me, you may want to switch your cologne, your deodorant, your whatever, and try and see if that helps.
Don't eat bananas before you go.
So Jim says don't eat bananas. Some people claim I eat a banana every day with peanut butter, but some people claim that has an effect on them.
Just before you go to the hive, don't eat them and then go to work.
So, see another? Yes, ma'am.
What about when they spray for the mosquitoes and stuff like that, you've got neighborhood hives?
Okay, so Pinellas County, we're really fortunate here. We have and it's rare you'll ever see this, but we have a group in our county government that is useful. Extremely useful. So if you have bees, and you're registered with the state, you need to call mosquito control and register yourself with them. They will put you as a little blip on their map, and they will stop fogging so many feet in front of your house and all. Now they will do everything possible to avoid you and your surroundings with bees. And they've been really great. They even come and talk to us once a year if we invite them out, and they'll probably come back this year later in the season. They're a great bunch. They do as much as they can with a lot of the stuff they put in the water to affect the larvae will not affect the gut of the bees the way it does the mosquito larvae. And they go way out of their way to assist and help and protect the bees. Even though bees are not feral to this country, they were brought here by the Europeans. Now, that being said, we still have 300, Becky's not here tonight, but we have 300 something species of bees, I remember, that come from Florida. Now, there's smaller groups of bees and they're not big European hives, but we still have all different sizes and colors and shapes and sizes that are natural to bees in natural to Florida. But they still do a lot to work with us and around us. So the mosquito control does help us out, but you need to register with them and let them know where you are, so they know you're there.
Is that the same in Hillsborough County?
So I do not know what Hillsboro's program is. If you're from Hillsboro, get with them and see what their program is. I can't imagine them not being friendlier, because Hillsboro has a whole lot more agricultural stuff going on over there. But I can't answer for them because I don't know.
They came out and talked to Tampa Bay as well, so that's.
Hillsboro group did, or the Hillsboro County did?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so I would imagine, so everything's a lot greener and a lot more helpful nowadays. And these different groups are trying to be, I mean, we need food and we need to eat. So we need the bees to do the work for us. So it's a big project, and it works for us. So, and they are really on board with us. So I'm not surprised that Hillsboro would do that. Any other questions? I know I'm already over right now. I didn't get my timekeeper flagging me. All right, so I need to stop at this point. We'll still take some questions later on. I'm talking to the rest of it, so you'll have to be bored with me and stumble through this. So if you don't mind, we have a flag up here. If you'll stand with me so we can say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this evening. We thank you for the chance to get together and learn about this insect. We ask you to be with us and keep us safe. In your name, amen. So we're going to move right into the meeting. So like I was saying earlier, so we got a really great crowd tonight. Jim, if you get a chance, make sure we get a count. And I got Jim and Jim back here. So Saturday morning at 8:30, he will be at, right back here, off this back street behind us. At 8:30 on Saturday morning, he will be there for the bee days here at the college. Wear closed-toed shoes, preferably long pants, and some long sleeve shirts. We have veils and gloves, and it's a day in the bee yard. You do not have to join the club to do this. There is no cost. You do have to sign a waiver in case you get stung and die. We have to dig a hole. It's just, there's loopholes to everything. We haven't had to dig a hole yet, have we? So we still got the hole open that we had. So you're fortunate there. And then Jim was out at Tuesday at Great Bay. He's out on 28th by the landfill at 10 o'clock in the morning. He's a little slower and getting going. He's like a steam locomotive. Once you get him built up and going, he's going. But he don't start out real early in the morning. So, and that's on Tuesday. So we have those two options. And once again, we have veils and hats and all this stuff out there. It's right next to Great Bay Distributor out there on 28th. Closed shoes, long sleeves. Anything else I need to tell them, gentlemen? Yeah, bring some water, hydration. It is hot. I had a guy tell me one time, he goes, I want to get out of the lawn business. I'm thinking about becoming a beekeeper. So you want to not mow lawns and wear a jacket in July? He goes, maybe I don't want to do that. So, I think that gets most of us. So we're running through some stuff. I haven't been paying attention on the monitors. We'll watch our monitors. We have some stuff coming up. So I did not get a listing. My listing person fell through on me. You can't tell who she is because she's hiding under the table right now. So we don't have anything special going on right at the moment, I don't think.
The volunteers in June, Pre-Gathers Brewing.
Okay. And then, so I will tell you that, because I don't have my list, I don't know who's speaking next month. But,
Sorry, you lost Miss Amy Boo.
Amy is?
Yes.
Okay, she's a great speaker.
Dr. Ellis in July.
And then Dr. Jamie Ellis is in July. Now I gotta tell you, so when I first got into beekeeping, he was one of the first notable bee people I met from the college. And just over the years, the love that man has for beekeeping, and he stayed here with Florida. And he literally worked in a closet for years at the college. And the beekeeping associations all around the state built him a really nice lab up there in Gainesville. And I'm kind of proud of it because I was part of helping, and the state was part of helping join and get that built for him to keep him here in the college. He's a great professor, he's a great speaker. And when you hear him speak, you can tell that he just loves beekeeping. He had bees as a kid, younger, and he's just all that in beekeeping. So that gets us through July, and we'll worry about
Randy Wiles.
Randy. Is that
Be good. He's a queen career.
August?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that gets us a few months in. And we're going to talk about bee equipment tonight, which is kind of just an extension of what I was talking with the beekeeping. And I've told people in the past, coming out to the bee yard one time to see how to become a beekeeper is really cool. But all that should do is whet your appetite. Because having bees is not like getting a dog, where you find out Fido needs a scoop of dog food every day, and he needs to be let out a couple times a day, and you need to give him water. And if you walk him every couple of times a day, and you feed him every day, he'll be fine. Bees are always wanting or needing to do something a little different. They're wanting to build up in the spring, they're wanting to make honey times of the summer, hopefully. They're needing to be broke down and set up for the fall and winter. there's a lot you need to learn about beekeeping and what you do and how you do it.
You don't
So-
read the book.
Well, you can read the book, but I will tell you, and sometimes people
Bees
take,
don't read the book.
sometimes people take this wrong.
Bees don't read a book.
Bees don't read books, but I say a lot of the beekeeping books were written by Northerners. And people think that I'm just a Southerner and I'm just down on Northerners, but beekeeping in Florida is just, we don't do it like y'all do it up north. That's just the blunt of it. But it is a lot hotter here. I have friends from up north, and I love calling them in March when I'm going through my bees and making splits and doing stuff, and they're like, "What? You're doing what?" Haven't been in my bees for 4 or 5 months, and won't be in them for another month or so. Yeah, well, in Florida we do things different. So, depending on where you are and the weather and all, is what you can do and how you can do it with your bees. I do have one announcement that I wanted to bring up. Skip, where did you end up? Can I get you and your grandson to come up, please? I have met Skip through, so I would say I get the weirdest phone calls, but y'all have no clue. So I got this call from this gentleman about his grandson, and I'll let him give you a little short rundown on this. But anytime we can help out with the youth in America, we like to think we're helpful that way. So, Skip?
Thank you. Thank you very much. My name's Skip Wright. I've been a member here for many years. I'd like to introduce my grandson, Spencer Cargus. Spencer is, as of today, a senior at Lakewood High School. Today's the last day of school. Right? All right. Finally summer. Actually, he's also a Life Scout, and he's completed all of the requirements for the Eagle rank, with one exception, and that is the service project. He has to do a project that is beneficial to the community, to the world. What else could he do? Something with bees. Okay? So he's decided, and he's got approval from the Gulf, which council is it now?
Greater
They just changed the name, Greater Tampa Bay Boy Scout Council, the Eagle Committee, to do a project involving bees. And the project will be to create and make swarm boxes for the club. Okay? 8 of them, 8 swarm boxes, 4 for each of the 2 yards. So that's the project, and we've got the approval of our president, vice president, and also someone back there. So we're gonna work on, back up. He cannot just go out and buy the boxes. It's not a matter of going out and buy boxes and giving them to the club. He has to earn the money one way or another to buy the materials, and then we're going to, he and the club, the troop, are going to put the traps together and then present them to the club. So he will earn the money by having yard sales, car washes, and a GoFundMe project. So that's the project. If anybody has any questions about it, we'd be glad to talk about it. There are cards on the back desk back there, back table. If anybody would like to donate $1 or $2, whatever, to the GoFundMe for the materials for these swarm traps. And hopefully we'll have them in place within probably a month. Okay? Anything else? We're good? Any questions? Thank you very much.
So it kind of makes me proud to be part of an organization that can link up with gentlemen like this. There's always people bad-mouthing kids that are getting in all kinds of trouble and doing all kinds of stupid things, and then you have young men like this that are out and they're trying to be a better role model, a better person, and all these things, and stepping up and doing a little more and being a little more. And nowadays, I know there's not many shining through, but when they do shine through, it's an honor. I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Someone also came up to me and had some older bee magazines, and they laid them out on that table back there. So if you're interested in taking one, they are there for the taking. Don't board them all up. Let a few people. I don't know how many's there, but there is several. A small stack of them. Grab, look them, see if you see an article you're interested in, take them. Maybe bring them back next month and let somebody else, cycle them back through. I thought it was neat that they did that. I kind of got off track with that, but it's, like I said, it's just an interesting thing when youths do a little more. We had a Girl Scout a few years ago out at the other apiary do a flower garden out there to give her awards and her badges. But it's just neat to see youth that do and go above. So like I said, when I was talking about equipment with the hives, I know I talked about the Africanized bees and the way they act and stuff. So when I was talking about nooks and hives, and I said something about frames, this is about the size of a standard frame for a hive. They're like 9 5/8 or something. I can't remember exactly. But this is the standard for a hive box. And what I was saying was just try different things. If you are on the petiter side, or if you have a bad chicken wing, or a bad back, or an issue, there are beekeepers that, these frames come in different sizes. So a medium honey frame is about 6 5/8. It's only a few inches shorter, but the weight of it's big time different. So you could take and put several of those medium boxes together and still have a brood box with the queen laying in it. And when you need to move the boxes and stack them and unstack them, it'd be easier on you and your back. So if you were smaller or weaker or had a weak back or whatever, you could do that. You could also, I talked about them coming in 5-frame nooks. You can also, 2 5-frame nooks is 10 frames. And I gotta tell you, you care if they're this way or this way. The bees don't care. The bees will build comb this way, the bees will build comb this way. They don't care. Like I said, they'll do it in a tire. They'll just do it anywhere. So, don't get hung up on the specifics. There's ways to do it and easier ways to do it. Just do a little math and talk to different people. If you talk to a dozen beekeepers, you'll get about 15 answers. And that's just a standard. But I will tell you, when you're getting frames for your hives, I have a frame here with just wax foundation. I'm probably a little old-fashioned on this. I think the bees take to just the plain wax foundation really easy, really quick, and they work really well with it. It's not as durable. They make a plastic foundation, and they claim it comes sprayed with a slight bit of beeswax on it, and it's a very slight bit. Whenever I do these, I always add some beeswax to it. So I use these. The yellow frames make it really hard to see the stick eggs when you're inspecting your hive. You're looking for a little white stick egg in the bottom of a cell that looks like a little stubble gray beard, and it's really hard to see. A lot of people my age get the black ones because the black shows up the little gray, the little eggs a lot easier. So there's just a few different things you can do to make your job easier and quicker. And that's just a few of the things. So the boxes are different sizes. You can stack them, now be careful, when you stack 5-frame boxes up, they tend to get a little wobbly. You may need to secure them or stabilize them somehow. But the 10-frame boxes, when you put a couple of them together and you put honey supers on them and get them weighted down, they're pretty stable even in wind. The hive tools, the jackets, not the jackets, just the veils, whatever, you can get by with it. Yes, sir?
When you get a nook, what's the first
first thing you do with that? Because I've seen several different things they say that you're supposed to do.
So if you get a nook, or when you get a nook, if it is a good nook, when you pop the lid off of it during the day, especially if you can go inspect this nook before you get it, which is what you should be doing. You should be going to the beekeeper, and your beekeeper that you're buying it from shouldn't be offended that you want to come see what you're getting. So you go, he should work with you with a smoker, and you open up that hive. When you open that hive up, there ought to be a really full box of bees. Not that you can't stuff another one in there, but I mean, so when you look in it, you can see bees just everywhere you look. You gently get a frame out and look. You can see the frame of food. You can start back going through there and see the brood, the different stages, and you should be able to find the queen. Now, all your really, really normal beekeepers that are going to sell a nook are going to be proud of their bees, they're going to be proud of their queens, and they're going to want to show you all this. Put it back together. You need to transport it in the evening time once it gets dark. That's when all the bees will be back at home and waiting to do for sunlight. And when you purchase that hive and you wrap it up and you stuff it full and you take it home, you need to take it home. This is not the time to stop at Walmart and go get milk and all the other things you need, and stop at so-and-so's and stop at so. You need to get it home. This is a box of bees that's trapped inside a box. They are living, breathing creatures. This needs to sink in for a moment, because if they're packed in there and they're all breathing the same air, this is a little stale at some time. You don't want to get home and open a box of bees up that are dead. So get your bees, get them, and get headed home and get them. Do not set them out in the sun. Do not leave them in a hot car while you're in Walmart. These are all things that I have seen happen. You want to get them home, open them up that night where you want them. Don't open them up and leave them sitting out by the car and tomorrow plan on moving them into where you want them. You want to get them, move them where you're going to have them set up, and open them up. Then when it's daylight, you can switch the box out. You can move the nook over, put your 10 frame or your other nook or however you're going to set these things up, and move those into it if you're going to move them into a regular box. You drop them into the regular box and then drop the other 5 frames in around it. And that gets your box started. But so what they'll do is in the morning at first light, they're going to come out of that box and they're going to start looking around to see where they are. They're going to realize they're in a new place. They're going to swirl around and they're going to figure out their compass heading and where they are, where home is. Now they know where their home is. Now they can start traveling out. They're going to travel out and they're going to get nectar. They're going to travel out and they're going to get moisture, which is just H2O, and they're going to get pollen. And that's what they're going to spend the rest of their time chasing. And they'll be coming back to the front of that box, wherever you set it. So don't start setting it here and then go, well, maybe I should have put it over here. Don't make them chase their home. Put their home where it needs to be and let it be there. Don't make it harder on them than it needs to be. And then you should be able to take the box, and whoever's going to want their box back, more likely, unless they had you come out to inspect it and they had you put their stuff in your box. They may do that. I've seen that done over the years. But a good inspection is.
This may sound like a strange question. There's a minimum distance that you need to move the bees if you're basically capturing a wild hive. Is there a maximum distance? Like if you are somehow given an opportunity to get bees on one side of the state and take it across to the other side of the state, would they end up being confused because they don't know the nectar sources, they don't know the neighborhoods? It wouldn't necessarily be a good idea.
So they will figure it out.
They do.
So what I've always been taught is if you're going to move bees, you need to move them 2 miles for 2 weeks. So if you have a hive that's in the wrong place in your yard, if you have a friend across town, you can snatch those bees up one night, move them to their place, leave them there for 2 or 3 weeks, close them back up, bring them back to your place, and put them in a different spot in the yard, and they'll be fine there. They'll come out, they'll relocate there, and they'll just keep traveling, and that'll be their home. And don't know that as their home. You can move it a little bit, every day or two. It's just a whole lot easier to pack them up and move it somewhere and move them back. But they'll find the honey sources and the nectar sources and the water sources. They come out and start working in 360. And most bees will range in the distance of about 2 miles. They have been noted to work upwards of 5 miles. But they're opportunists. They're going to go to the closest thing first and then work their way out. So, yes?
When I have had situations where somebody needed to move a hive like 50 feet, past performance is no guarantee of future returns, but we went ahead and moved them to 50 feet and then put some brush, just some tree branches over the front, like touching the top and coming down. So when they came out, they go, this is not where I lived yesterday. And then they come out and do orientation flanks. That has been very successful. Again, you know, if you can go a couple of miles, that's a known way, but I've had really good luck.
I would add to that, seal them up for a period of 36 hours, that's 2 daylights. Then go ahead and put something across the front so they have to see where they're going. I've done it many times, and I've gone from 2 feet to 15 feet without a problem. Seal them, 36 hours minimum.
Never done that, that makes sense.
All right, so what they're really talking about is, so at some point you find out your neighbor has some bees over in their yard, and you go over there with a box and you're gonna get these bees, shake them out of a swarm or dig them out or do whatever you're gonna do. If you do all that work and get all those bees in that box, and you grab your box up and say, hey Fred, thanks for letting me do this, I'm out of here with my bees. And I'm gonna take these bees over to my house, and I'm gonna put them in my little bee yard here, and I'll set them here, and they'll just all be happy. They're gonna fly out of that box, and when they fly home, they're flying back to Fred's house, because that's where they know home is. They didn't know, you didn't send them all a little monogram, little moving, we have moved, and you have a new address. They didn't get that in the mail, and so they go back. So they're 2, 3, 5,000 bees just flew back to Fred's, and he's a little upset because you took them, but they all came back. So that's what we're talking about when you're moving bees. Once they learn where their home is, that's their home until you can get them out and break the cycle and make them learn a new cycle of where they live. Yes, sir?
This is interesting because this has to do with the orientation point that usually happens, I thought, every morning. Not necessarily?
No, so the orientation flight, if they know what they're doing, and they flew yesterday, and they fly, and they come out the hive the next morning, and things look alike. So if you move that hive 10 feet, that's not enough of a GPS reprogram for them to notice, wait a minute, this is not the same area that it was. This is a different area. So when you move them 10 feet, they fly out of the hive going, we got this covered. We know where we're going. And they go off, and then they fly back, and they come back over here going, hey, where's home? It was here when I left. And it's just right over there. But they're not looking over there because they're looking right where they came back to.
I got 2 things I'd like to add to what you just said. If you
Okay.
don't mind. It's my understanding, and this is from books, and as you said, please don't read books, but that coloring the hives with certain markings will help the bees locate them. If you have a hive yard and you have them all the same, it's not as easy, and robbing honey and other things can happen, or they'll get stung to death if they're in the wrong hive. Another thing that I think might be of interest to the audience here is that they put a video on several hives 24/7. And they found that there was an intensity of bees at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, because that's when the babies would come out and get their orientation right now. 4 o'clock in the afternoon is a strange time. It's not like sunrise in the morning to get your orientation. But this they noticed quite consistently. I thought, that's fascinating.
Through the years, I've noticed around 4:30 in the afternoon before 5, there's always a little flurry out there in the bee yard. Bees doing a, but, and colors can make a difference to them. There are some colors that they don't recognize, but there is some colors that they do. I do know that I think it's 6 feet apart. If you put your hives around 6 feet apart, that's a really good distance to have them apart to keep them drifting. But in your backyard, if you have bees and they're your bees and you take care of both or all three of your hives the same and you keep them pretty clean and you stay after them for mites and you keep up with everything really well, a little drifting is not hurting you. So it's in the bigger bee yards or commercial places where the drifting can be more of a problem. Yes?
All right, you got your nook, it's established. Now you want to split your hive. How do you go about doing it?
So a nook would kind of be a split hive to start with. That's what you're starting out with. So you get your nook, you get it home, you put it in your hive, and you go back and check it in a couple weeks, and your 5 frames are now 7 frames. So they've already filled out a couple more frames. And then in a couple more weeks, they filled out a couple more frames. Well, 5 and 2 is 7. 7 and 2 is 9. So now you got about 9 of your frames filled out of your 10 frame box. You give them a little more time, they start on that ninth going into the 10th frame. You need to think about putting honey storage on there so they have room to put honey. So you're going to need a box for your honey super. Generally, you need at least a couple boxes so you can have. I keep 1 box on my hive just for the bees, and then anything above that is my honey. It's extra, and it's going to my house. So once you get about 9 frames, you want to put that new box on top of that and let them start working that and getting that going. And then once you start getting your honey super filled up, you want to watch your frames, and if it starts getting really packed out at 10, you might want to consider pulling a frame or 2 out of there and making a small split at that point. But you need to get them built up enough that they start having some food stores and all before you start splitting.
Do you buy a queen and just move a couple of frames of food over, or do you let them in their own queen?
So if you've been to some of the classes or you follow along, there's times of the year where they're apt to build some queen cells. And if you're watching and you're in your hive one day and you go, oh no, I've dug through here and on 3 different frames, I have found queen cells. Now with us being humans and us reading the book, we know that's not good. That means they're probably going to swarm. So you being an intelligent person that can read a book and figure out bees swarming, well, to stop swarming, all you got to do is cut those queen cells out. And that stops the swarming. You're ahead, you read the book, everything's fine. The bees didn't read the book, and they're looking at it as, no, we're going to swarm. We're setting us up to have a queen when the queen swarms, so we're going to have these queen cells in place so we can have a queen. But some idiot came here and crushed all our queen cells. So we're going to swarm anyhow, so the queen takes half her bees and leaves. Now you got half the bees in your box that's left. Oh yeah, but you killed your queen cells. So there's no queen's going to pop out in here to go for the mating flight. So your queen's doing really well with half her bees that she left with, because they're doing what they do, and you doing what you did, you about extinguished your hive. So don't be too smart and think you've got it. Work with it. So what I'm saying is, at this point, you found queen cells, go, okay, I need to leave at least 1 queen cell in there for them so they have something in case she swarms. And I'll take one of these other frames, or 2 of these other frames with queen cells, and I'll put them in this nook box, put a few other frames in there with them, and start a small nook, and build them up, feed them some sugar water, and boom, I've got another nook going in it. I can turn it into another hive before long. But don't try and be smarter than the bees because you can read. Or take a couple frames out and stick the book in there and try and teach them to read. So we do have raffle tickets tonight. If you did not get some, I did not promote that earlier or at all. I just thought about it. The smoker, one of our resident beekeepers, is a writer, and she's not here tonight to autograph it. And She will autograph it for you though. But she's not here tonight. She will autograph it another time. So if you need to get some raffle tickets, you can sneak out to the desk. I think there's somebody still out there. Any other questions?
How much is it to become a member?
How much is it to become a member of this glorious club? It is $15 to become a member. And so a perk with this, if you join the membership and you become a member of this club, one of our biggest perks are that if you do have bees and you need to extract your honey, we have a radial extractor that you can borrow from the club for no cost. I think they take a $50 deposit because this thing's like $1,200 or $1,500 now. But you can borrow it to extract your honey and then bring it back, and you get your deposit back. You get to come to all these neat meetings, which you can come to them for free. There's bound to be some other positive things, but
SPC just donated a flow hive, and they're gonna have it in the bee yard probably next, if not this month, next month, they're gonna unpack it in the box.
oh, so that's something new. I have had a lot of questions asked about that over the years. I've never seen one used. Yes, sir.
Just about flow hives. We have the Florida Flow Hive Beekeepers page on Facebook, which will give you a lot of information. I have 5 flow hives set up in my backyard. I've been using them for 3 years now. I absolutely love them. It's not good for commercial beekeeping. First of all, it's super expensive, and you have to learn some different little tricks. But the main thing is the brood box. It's the exact same as a regular beekeeper. You're just harvesting honey different. So if you go to Florida Flow Hive Beekeepers, you'll get some more information there. We can answer any questions you may have.
So it'll be real interesting once we get this one set up in the bee yard on how it does and how it works. I just think it'd be tickled to see one. They've been out for about 8 years or so, probably, maybe a little longer. Yes?
Since it's been really dry lately, are you still feeding your bees?
So we have not been feeding our bees. So that's one of the things that I tell people, you need to be a beekeeper, not a bee haver. So one of the things you do when you open your hive up and you're looking at your hive, you're checking your hive for not only the wealth and the healthiness of it, but you want to check it for the amount of food. It has been dry. There has been some blooms. It's been a really crazy spring and into summer. But it seemed like in the last 10 years, it's gotten really hard this time of year to do much with bees. I got into this 15, 16 years ago. I was pulling honey 3 times a year in this county, and laughing and doing well with it. We have since seen the citrus trees in everybody's yard. They just all died out. They all got to, I guess, about 70, 80 years old. And so all the old citrus trees have died out due to greening and old age. And some of the other stuff just hasn't done as well in the spring. We do some cabbage palm and some black mangrove right now. Black mangrove that's blooming right now. Cabbage palm just quit blooming, but Pinellas County doesn't have a lot of cabbage saw palmetto. I mean, they just don't have a lot of that anymore in this county because it's always pushed down and they put buildings and driveways everywhere. And then into the fall, so we'll have some cabbage palms. And in the fall, of course, we'll have our Brazilian pepper, which is a blight for man, but it's really great for beekeepers. Yes, ma'am.
Can you talk about the different ways of extracting the honey off of the frames, like how you get the wax off? I've seen a couple different methods. What's the best method?
Okay, so what's best is what works for you. I started out with a small 3-frame extractor and a knife, and I would stand the frames up over a pan, shave the cappings off, and put it in the extractor and radial spin it. There's a capping tool that just has a bunch of little sharp spikes on it, and you can drag it across and break the cappings up on it and spin it and do the same thing. There's also one that looks like a kind of a weird looking paint roller. That's kind of like a paint roller. It's a porcupine that you can roll across it and break the cappings up and spin it and do the same thing. Now you can also, if you build your honey frames yourself and you get just the wax foundation, you can get, now these have a little wire in them to give them strength. You can get the ones without the wire, and you can cut it out. You can make cut comb, or you can just crush the comb up and squeeze the honey out of it. The problem is if you cut the cappings off or scrape the cappings off, you have a nice comb. Once it's spun out and dried, you have a nice comb to put back in your bees for them to refill. If you crush it, they have to start over. They have to start out and build all that comb back again. And it's a lot more labor intensive for them. So it's what you think you need to work with your bees or how you want to work your bees. The cutting and the spinning is faster. And it's also faster for the bees to get back in it and fill it back up, and you can do it again. So I hope that answered some of your question. Also, you want to, especially in Florida, and I swear by this, so our summer honey, which is July and August, which is our winter time, it's our slowest time of the year for honey, believe it or not, is really moist. So when our bees are going out to trees, cabbage palms and all, getting honey, they're bringing back 98% moisture. And they're taking this 98% moisture and they're trying to dry it down to 18% moisture. And they work really hard at it. They work day and night at it. And they bring this stuff back and fan it and move it and fan it and move it 24 hours a day in the hive, 7 days a week. And sometimes you'll get a few bees that doesn't have a standard of 18% humidity. They've been doing this for 3 months. It's 95% humidity in Florida anyhow. How are you, mathematically, 98% moisture, it's 95% moisture in the room, and you're trying to bring it down to 18% over here. Mathematically, it don't work. They're not using a drying room. They're using the inside of the hive where everybody lives. It's impractical numbers. How they do it is still kind of a mystery. But sometimes they'll give up a little early, by like late August. This is pretty close. We're going to take 21% and call it good. So be careful when you're pulling your honey at home and you're looking at a frame and it doesn't go all the way to the bottom and across. You know, it goes pretty far down to the bottom and across. But that stuff's probably like 60% moisture. And this stuff here is like 21% moisture. And you're extracting all of it and putting it into a bucket. And if you're not careful, your bucket sits around for a little bit of time, you may end up with a very neat science experiment, or some vinegar, or a start of a meat. So watch your thinness. If it's not capped all the way around and on both sides, be careful. I mean, so if you want to extract, you get a frame or two in your own hive, and you want to extract it, if you're not planning on keeping it for months and months, it doesn't have to be capped at all. It's going to taste a lot like honey. It may be a little thin, but it'll taste like honey. If you're going to eat it in a week or so, bottoms up, enjoy it. Don't try and bottle it and put it in a bottle and save it and give it to Aunt Ethel and have her put it on her stove, and all of a sudden she's going, hey, how come my bottle keeps getting bigger? Looks like a football. So, like I said, these are just little things you need to watch for. Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned Brazilian pepper. Is that like the pepper tree with the pink things?
The little red balls in the fall.
They like those?
That's
Oh,
funny.
that's good.
sow the blooms in September, October.
Okay, I have one of those, I'll have to cut it down, so.
It won't matter, your neighbors still have them, and they're on every other piece of property in the county, so.
Oh, okay.
So, if you have bees and you think, I'm gonna help my bees, I'm gonna plant such and such in my yard. For bees to make any amount of honey at all, would take them an acre of what kind of flowers you're gonna plant. So I'm not saying don't plant flowers around your house that are bee and hummingbird and butterfly all helpful. But you're not gonna plant enough at your house to make a huge success for your hive. Your hive will swirl around and work out from there and still draw a lot of other stuff. But, yes, sir.
I've read that the drones have a tendency to go to a particular location and kind of form a voice club. And somehow the queens figure out where they are, and they go there. And part of the interesting aspect of this is that they may use that same general area to show up in. And I don't know, because the queen is new, queen's virgin queen, basically. But the more drones she mates with, the better queen she'll be. If you're developing, a queen situation. They've done some studies where they found out how to locate these things. Do you know anything about that? Because I think it would be fabulous to just watch that. You talk about watching bees. That's an education right there.
So I don't know exactly how they set up and find the drone yards. I know your commercial guys that set up and do commercial queen rearing will set up at a distance from their queen yard another yard where they'll set up and have really heavy drone population in the hives so they can boost the drones in an area to do that. So a queen will go out, a maiden queen will go out. So after she's hatched out, because you didn't crush her, because not only you're a reader, but you're a thinker, so you didn't crush her when you found these queen cells in your hive. You let her hatch out. She built strength up. She found a calm day where there's light winds, because bees only fly about, I think it's 14 miles an hour or thereabouts. She goes out to find a boys' club to breed. Now, we're not going to talk about a lot about this, because this is kind of a roller coaster. The little hussie's out there for like 20 or 25 guys. So it's not just a single little romance. She's tramping it. So they take an elevation flight way up in the air where they find this more than happy drone at the moment. And they fall deeply in love in this romance. And they fall back to earth, intertwined, where just before she gets to the ground, she rips his genitals off and she flies back up. He crashes. One does a little better than the other. And back to elevation she goes to do it again and again and again. And they say the better she's bred of over 20 times, the better she'll do in laying. She can lay upwards. I mean, she can vary and due to weather and a lot of different things how much she lays in a day, but she can do between 0 and like 3,000 eggs a day, and do that for several years. It's incredible. Just the fact that she can do that. I've been told, and Jamie Ellis and a lot of the other professors and stuff, I've been told that they can take and use semen from father A or father A, B, C, D. And she can cycle them around, use just one, multiple, I guess, daddy, baby mamas, and then move to the next one and the next one, and or split between them. The reproduction system of a bee is just so advanced and so cool. Yes, sir?
So we learned in mechanical insemination that you use CO2 in order to get her to open up. And so that's part of that increase in height, is to get that elevated CO2 level. And then when she falls, she she actually closes up, and that's part of the mechanical process. But then she holds on to all that genetic material, and every time she puts an egg in a cell, she decides, am I going to fertilize this egg or not? We know that that has to do with cell size, right? It's a little bit bigger, it's a drone, she doesn't fertilize it. But like you said, she can choose what she's gonna use to fertilize that egg with. So when you talk about multiple genetic donors, you can have a hive that seems perfectly nice today because all that she's, fertilized with in the last week were nice genetic
European
materials.
stock, good
Yeah.
European stock.
Yes, and then next week, all of a sudden.
And then there's one bad boy in the bunch,
Right.
and all of a sudden you've got street hoodlums. And that's about how the whole thing works. But she can also, at some point in all this craziness, she can go, oh, it's about time to put more drones out there, so I'm gonna lay a bunch of eggs without any sperm added to it. And those will come out drones. So the whole life cycle and the reproductive system of the bees is all, it's baffling to me because genetically drones don't have two parents. They're only the baby's mama. So all the bees in there that are regular female bees, they're all sisters. So it's quite, well, I guess at least half sisters, I guess to be technically, or 1/10 sisters or 1/20th sisters or somehow like that. Exactly. But so I will tell you, if that stuff interests you, there is the bee college has classes in the fall, and you definitely need to watch for that and become part of that and go up there for some of their training. It's very interesting. If you ever get to the point where I think you know it all, you probably wouldn't be a beekeeper still. I'm still amazed when I crack open a hive and I see eggs where the bees are chewing out of an egg for the first time, whether it's a drone or a queen or just a regular worker bee. And then they chew their way out and walk around for a few minutes, and then they go to work cleaning out cells. They just start out their life that way. It's just interesting. And then when you go through all the queen rearing and the queen being inseminated and all that is, it's just really a neat thing. Don't want to wrap it up too quick. Oh, we don't have our Russian roulette.
No, we're old school in.
We gotta do the old fashioned. So is there any other questions? I know I didn't hit the drone queen thing 100%. It's been a while since I studied it, but that's the gist of it. It is a brutal thing, though. Like I said, the drones. So for all of you that think the drones really have it made, yeah, it's one and done.
Where can you get bees this time of year, or can you at all, or is it worth trying?
Can you what?
Can you get bees this time of year, or is it worth trying?
So it's not too, it can be done. So Jim, have you got any nooks for sale? You do have nooks for sale, huh? You do.
Oh, okay.
Who else do I see back there was doing?
I got a couple tips.
So you got some nooks? Matt? Josh. Excuse
Okay,
me.
who doesn't have bees? I'm just kidding.
So if you guys with nooks and Bert, would you guys just stand up for a minute? Jim with the turquoise back there. So if any of you guys are looking to buy, now these guys have been with the club for a long time. So I've known these three gentlemen quite a while. They're all real respectful beekeepers. If you guys are looking for a local beekeeper to get bees, these guys are your guys. They're registered with the state. And I will tell you, if you're going to become a beekeeper in Florida, you need to register your beehives with the state. Now, I'm not telling you, you need to be registered for the state to be a beekeeper. The hives in Florida are registered, so don't call up and say, hey, I want to become a beekeeper, register me. They don't register you, they're registering your bees. They're checking your bees for American foul brood and things like that. That could be a problem. And they do a really great job. It's $10 a year, I believe, for 4 hives. And then it's like $20 for up to 40 or something. And so they come to your house and inspect your hives. And they're on call to answer all your stupid questions, because I asked all the stupid questions the first year when I was a beginning beekeeper. And they smile about it. We also have the snacks back there. So if you have ideas for different snacks, you might want to let us know. There is a donation thing back there. What else? Is there anything else I need to put out there? I'll do the wrap. Yes, sir.
One point of clarification, I was talking with one of the beekeepers who lived at the school you talked about. I don't know if there was in the fall. Winter anyway. She said that when the female mates with various males, that she basically collects all of the sperm in one holding tank, as it were, by the expression. And so I'm curious as to how she would be able to separate that when it's just a pool of.
So I was told it wasn't a single, it was individual sacks. I am not a college-bound entomologist, so I won't swear to that. That's what I've been told. It's what? Is there any other questions? I would like to say I hope I covered everything well, but so Laura, someone said that the college was setting up a flow hive.
We are.
Got a second?
Yeah. We just,
So a couple of years ago, when colleges were up and running, and right before COVID, we were working with the SPC PTK group, and they were working on getting us a flow hive. And then the pandemic happened, and I figured they never ordered it. And then so about a month ago, somebody in an unrelated office called me and said, hey, we have some hives in our back room, do you want them? And they had been sitting there for about 2 years. So I went and picked it up, and so they're in the box, and I just took it to the Connex about a week ago. So they're still in the box. We would have to set it up and put bees in it, but I think we're going to have a demonstration flow hive in the SPC apiary for our educational days.
So I got to tell you, this whole thing, what we're a part of here, and all I've been able to do with some of the people from the college and a lot of people from this association over the years that has worked really hard to get this thing started. When you go to a college, you go, hey, we'd like to bring a bunch of stinging insects in. And they go like, no, we don't think so. But I got to tell you, this college opened up to us very warmly. We started as a very loose group out at the Reuben Icott section out there. And we were there for several years, and we got a little big for the room we had out there. And we got hold of this college, and I just threw one out there. I knew somebody that worked at this college, and I said, hey, why don't you check with whoever's in charge there and say, let's put a bee yard there. And he goes, you're kidding, right? What? All I could say is no. So he went, yeah. And we finally got him to build his courage up, and we did it, and they're like, oh, that would be cool. We're like, what? He goes, at that point, we weren't expecting, oh, that would be cool. We were expecting like a, oh, hell no. And it kind of started from there, and they're like, well, what would it take? What would you have to do? How would you do that? What? And we're like, slow down the questions. We had one question. That's as far as we came prepared. We don't have the whole long list for this. So we started, and they've been with us, and this college campus here has been better than golden to us. Don't know why, they just really decided to go green. They really think we're something. They've loaned us this hall here we started out, we were just running a few tables across the front, and tonight we're probably running, 75, 85 people. They've just really been great with us. Now, we do help them out a little towards the end of the year, near Christmas. We do take the provost several boxes of bottled honey, and so we found out he's taken and he gives that for Christmas presents to other professors and other colleges around, because it's from his bee yard at his college. So he's kind of like the poobah honey distributor around the state. So he has a little, I think he has a little fun in that. So that being said, we've had a lot of fun. They've been really outstandingly great to us. And we've had a lot of good members that have been with us a long time. So we ask you to please come on out and learn from our bee days and enjoy it and be a part of it. Once you learn, pass it on, work with us and help us out. Then we're gonna do the raffle. She's tired of me talking. All right, so I got some t-shirts, the smoker we'll do last. We're gonna start out with this bee book. What did we just follow?
That's the one we're gonna do.
So the first number is, the last four is 1885. So the next decapping tool, and the number is 1993. 1993 for decapping tool. Right here. A bee brush. Oh, I was also told that we are like the slowest bunch to get orders into Day Dance. You can't call your orders in Tuesday afternoon for them to bring them on Thursday, because they need a whole day to get D&J. So if you need to order stuff from D&J for beekeeping supplies, try and do it before the week of if needed. So anything can happen at the last moment, but try and get your orders in earlier. 1834 for bee brush. 1834. Oh, come on, I knew it. No? All right, we got a red hive tool. Easier to find. 1937. Is that you? 1937. I figured you were about due. Purple club shirts. Oh, we do have shirts and not hats right now, right? And this one can be exchanged. So this one is 2069. 2069, last four.
And you can
So
exchange
this
it
is the
for
big one?
a different size of colors.
The Day Dance Smoker is 2034.
Right here.
So I thank you. Like I said, the bee yard on Saturday, 8:30. Come prepared to get sweaty, bring water. Enjoy the day. It should be a great one. And we need to be out of here in 15 minutes,
We've got actually about
20 minutes. So you can mingle a little and then work your way on out. Yes, yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me how your actually have lives? Maybe they could raise their hand.
All right. So the lady asked, how many people in here have? She's from the federal government. She wants to know how many. She wants to know how many people have hives. I would say most of the people in here. Now, how many in here have like 3 or more hives? Yeah, it's an addictive thing. Once you get one, we also have a mentor-mentee list, so you can be worked with on your own at your house. It's really helpful. Y'all are dismissed. Thank you.